Imagine effortlessly mastering the phrase afford. It's easier than you think. Welcome to Afford Mastery, the ultimate guide designed for language learners, parents, and students of all ages. In this video, we'll dive deep into the meaning and usage of afford, exploring its nuances through clear explanations and relatable examples. You'll see how afford works in everyday situations, making it fun and engaging for everyone. Yes, even kids and non-native speakers. Get ready to participate in interactive exercises and fascinating stories that will help you use afford naturally in conversation. Learning doesn't have to be boring. In fact, it can be an adventure. So, are you excited to enhance your English skills? Don't miss out. Click to join and master afford today. Hey there, English learners. Welcome back to English Podcast Pattern, the channel where grammar becomes your best friend. Today we're mastering the phrase to afford, what it means, how to use it correctly, and how not to get tricked by its sneaky grammar rules. Let's make it so simple that even a 5-year-old or a brand new English learner can explain it. Let's go. What does afford mean? To afford, to have enough money, time, or ability for something. Examples: I can afford a new phone. We can't afford to be late. She couldn't afford the dress. How to use afford. Use with can, can't, could, couldn't, followed by a noun or to plus verb. Example: I can afford to travel. Never say, I afford a car. It's incorrect. You say, I can afford it. She could afford to buy it, but not, I afford it. This is incorrect. You need can or could with afford in most cases. With me. Repeat after me. I can afford a vacation. We can't afford to miss class. Could you afford it? Let's look at some phrases. The first phrase, I can afford it, mean is I have enough money or time. The second phrase, it's worth it, means it gives good value. The third phrase, I can manage it, means I can do it, handle it, but maybe barely. The fourth, I can pay for it, means I can give money for it now, not long term. It's time for a quick grammar quiz, so sharpen those brains and get ready. You ready? Let's jump into the quiz. Fill in the blanks. The first sentence is, she can't afford, I say, a car. Think, do we need to buy a car? No. We use a noun here. Answer is, she can't afford a car. The second sentence is, we couldn't afford cross to travel. Here, we need a verb, so we use an infinitive. Answer is, we couldn't afford to travel. The third sentence is, can you afford the rent? Noun again. Answer is, can you afford the rent? So remember, use a noun after afford when you're talking about things. Use to plus verb when you're talking about actions. Let's dive into a short, funny story that also teaches us some real-life English. This is Sam. Sam really wanted pizza. He dreamed of the cheese, the crispy crust, the hot, delicious slice. But, oh no. Sam checked his wallet. Sam said, I only have $5. And then he looked at the menu. Pizza is $10. He sighed. I can't afford it. Let's pause here. What does can't afford mean? It means I don't have enough money to buy something. So, what did Sam do? He made toast. Just toast. No pizza, no party, just plain toast. Poor Sam. He wanted pizza, but he couldn't afford it. So he made toast. Let's remember Sam's words. I can't afford it. That's a great way to say, I don't have enough money for this. Use it with nouns, I can't afford pizza, or verbs, I can't afford to buy pizza. Did you like Sam's story? Want more funny grammar stories like this one? Try using it in your own sentence in the comments below. Today's big question is, what would you do if you couldn't afford pizza? Yup, imagine this. You're super hungry. You're craving that cheesy slice, and then you check your wallet. Only $5. But pizza costs $10. I can't afford it. Oh no. So what would you do? Would you make toast like poor Sam? Cook your own homemade pizza? Call a friend and split the cost? Cry quietly and eat cereal? If I couldn't afford pizza, I would Let's practice English and get creative. Did you notice the structure? I would. We use this for imaginary situations. Example: if I couldn't afford pizza, I would eat instant noodles. Try your own sentence below. We're fixing common mistakes with the verb afford. Are you ready? Let's go. The verb afford means to have enough money to buy or do something. But you can't just say, I afford. You need a helper verb like can or can't. Let's look at some before and after examples. Example 1. I afford new shoes. It's wrong. The right answer is I can afford new shoes. We use can afford because we're talking about ability. I can afford new shoes. I have enough money. Example 2. She afford to go on holiday. It's wrong, she can't afford to go on holiday. The right answer is oops. That first one is missing a helper. The correct sentence is she can't afford to go on holiday. She doesn't have enough money. Nicely done. And hey, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell so you never miss a lesson. Keep learning, keep smiling. Now, let's continue by watching a podcast episode that talks about the phrase afford.
Hey there, welcome back to our episode where we dig into the ins and outs of English phrases. Today we're tackling afford.
I'm really excited. Yeah, it's such a versatile word, right? Like when you say, I can afford it, it just means you have enough of something, be it money, time, or even energy.
Exactly. It's like, you have the resources. For instance, when you say, I can afford a new phone,
Right?
you're saying, well, I have enough money. But then when you say, we can't afford to be late, it's not about money, but consequences.
Oh, true. And it's interesting because we almost instinctively pair it with can or could. I mean, saying, I afford it, no, it doesn't work at all.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, the magic really is in using modal verbs such as can and could before afford, and sometimes even can't or couldn't. It's a neat little rule
Yep.
for English learners.
And did you notice how the examples break it down? I can afford a new phone shows you have enough money, and she couldn't afford the dress shows it's too expensive. It's very clear, right?
Right? And the video script even gives visual cues, like the icon of a wallet or a shopping bag. It makes it super concrete. Sometimes it's like, thinking of afford as having the means to do something.
So true. Yeah, it's almost like a checklist. Do I have enough cash, time, or even energy? And then you mix it with phrases like to travel or to study. I mean, they can't afford to study abroad. Gives you a real life scenario.
Right. And beyond that, there's that common pitfall. People sometimes mistakenly say, I afford it, without the modals. It's a clear error that the script emphasizes. Definitely something we need to stress.
Wait though, don't you think that sometimes in casual conversation people might drop the modal and be understood anyway? Like not in formal writing but in a quick chat?
That's a fair point. But in standard English, you really need can or could. It's a grammar rule that helps learners feel confident.
Yeah, I
Even
see
in
what you
casual
mean.
speech, clarity is key.
Makes sense. And then the script also explores similar expressions, like to pay for it versus to afford it. It's cool how it breaks even that down into I can afford a car, meaning overall financial ability versus I can pay for the car, meaning you have the cash right then.
Yes, exactly. It's like a mini lesson in nuance. Afford is about long term capability, and pay for is an action in the moment. Perfect for learners who want to fine tune their understanding of English expressions.
Right on. And I love how the script then shifts into practice mode. Repeat after me. I can afford a vacation. We can't afford to miss class. Could you afford it? It's interactive, almost like having a mini classroom in your living room.
I know. And that interactive part really makes it stick. Repeating helps you internalize the pattern, almost like a mantra. You know, I can afford becomes second nature.
Yeah, it's like a dance of language. Repetition sets the rhythm. And then there's the quiz section where learners fill in the blanks. She can't afford a car. We couldn't afford to travel. Can you afford the rent? Real engaging stuff.
Right? And even though it's simple, it builds that confidence. You pause the video, think about it, And then, you fill in your answers. It really nudges the learner to actively participate.
Absolutely. Speaking of engagement, I have to mention that little mini story, the pizza problem. It's such a fun way to see the word afford in action. Poor Sam only had $5 and wanted pizza for $10, so he, settled for toast.
Yeah, that made me chuckle. It's so relatable. Sometimes we wish we could just indulge, but the budget says otherwise. It shows learning through storytelling can make grammar points so much more memorable.
Totally. And then, the script really drives home that lesson with bonus practice too. Fixing sentences like, I afford new shoes to, I can afford new shoes, and she afford to go on holiday to, she can't afford to go on holiday. It's all about, getting that structure right.
Exactly. And it even asks a challenge. What do you wish you could afford? It really pushes learners to not just understand the grammar, but also apply it to their own lives.
Yep, it almost turns grammar into a conversation about life choices, doesn't it? Like sometimes it's not just about money, it's about time or energy. I mean, I can't afford to miss class might not be about cash at all.
Right. It's a metaphor for having the right balance in life. And I love how the script mixes in visual cues, like a shopping icon or a timer, which helps learners visually connect with the concept of afford.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that really ties back to the idea of creating animated, engaging video content, where even grammar rules have personality. It's almost like the word afford is alive.
Absolutely. It's like it dances on the screen, encouraging you to internalize its correct usage. And then there's the outro, which honestly is so peppy. Like, English is easy when you know the pattern. It leaves learners on a high note.
I agree. The positive energy is infectious. But I want to challenge one thing. Don't you think sometimes the oversimplification might leave out some complex scenarios where afford is used in less straightforward ways? What if context demands a deeper nuance?
That's a good point. And honestly, for beginner and intermediate levels, the approach is to build a solid foundation. Sure, as you progress, there might be more shades to it. But for now, it's crucial to get the
Fair
basics
enough.
right.
I can see that. The focus is on clarity and simplicity, which is so important. And when you're confident with I can afford to travel or I can't afford it, you're well on your way to mastering more advanced concepts later.
Right. It's like training wheels for your English vocabulary. Starting with clear, easy to remember structures helps you later add more nuance as you get comfortable with the
Exactly.
language.
And the way the script breaks down the slide presentations really adds another layer. It's structured into clear sections, so learners can literally follow along with the visuals. It's a multimedia approach that really works for a lot of people.
Yeah, exactly. Each slide, from defining afford to illustrating the proper grammar usage, builds an intuitive understanding. And then the quiz and interactive parts, those are like the icing on the cake. They pull you into the lesson.
It's a perfect blend, and I really like how they even offer the script in Russian or Kazakh for extra support. It shows an inclusive approach to language learning. Making sure the lesson is accessible to a wide audience.
Absolutely. That's important because when you're learning English as a second language, this extra contextual support can make a huge difference. Plus, it shows that learning isn't one size fits all.
Mm-hmm. And it's fun too. Engaging visuals, interactive segments, and comparison tables all work together to keep the learner's attention. It feels like having a personal tutor who's also your friend.
Right? It's engaging like a story, just like Sam's pizza saga. Poor Sam became the poster child for budgeting mishaps and teaching moments. And that's a story you remember, like every time you think about money.
Yeah, exactly. It almost makes me, smile at the simple truth that language learning can mirror everyday life. A pizza dilemma might just spark a grammar lesson.
Totally. And as we wrap up, I think it's essential to remind everyone that mastering afford isn't just about knowing the words. It's about using them confidently in real conversations, whether you're talking money, time, or even fun things like pizza.
Well said. And to anyone listening, go ahead and practice. Repeat those sentences. Try filling in the blanks, and even share what you wish you could afford, be it a vacation or a fancy meal. It all reinforces your learning.
Yep, practice truly makes perfect in language learning. And remember, if you ever get tripped up by afford, just think, can you do it? If yes, then you can totally say, I can afford it.
Exactly. All right. This has been such a fun discussion, and I know our listeners are going to walk away feeling more confident about the phrase afford. Thanks for breaking it down so clearly.
Thank you, and thanks to everyone tuning in. Keep practicing, keep speaking, and remember, English is easy when you know the pattern. Catch you all next time. Welcome everyone to our chat. Today we're diving into this quirky mini story, The Pizza Problem. It's a funny little narrative that mixes cravings, a wallet check, and a neat grammar lesson.
I'm excited to dig in. So, what's the gist of this story we're exploring?
Well, it starts with Sam. He's totally obsessed with pizza. Picture him daydreaming about that ooey gooey cheese, crispy crust, and a perfect hot slice craving like nothing else. You can almost see him drooling in front of a poster.
Yep, that imagery really sets the stage. It's like you can almost taste the pizza, right?
Exactly. Then the story quickly shifts over to scene 2, the wallet check. Sam, in his moment of craving satisfaction, checks his wallet only to find just $5. And get this, the pizza on the menu is $10.
Right.
Can you imagine that heart-sinking moment?
Oh, absolutely. That's a pretty dramatic reveal, and it sets up the conflict really well.
Yep. And then we move to scene 3, the sad truth. Sam sighs deeply and utters, I can't afford it. The story takes a slight pause there to explain that phrase. It simply means not having enough money for something. It's such a relatable everyday expression.
That pause to discuss the meaning of can't afford it really drives the lesson home. It's a handy phrase for both everyday life and learning English.
Moving on, we hit scene 4, the plan B. When all seemed lost, Sam, in a twist of fate and humor, heads to the kitchen and makes toast. Just plain, boring toast instead of that delicious pizza.
Yeah, no pizza means no party, right? Wait, did he actually settle for toast instead of pizza? That seems like such a drastic compromise.
It is. And that's what makes the story so funny. Instead of, searching for a solution or alternative pizza options,
Right.
he just makes toast. It's like his dream was shattered in the simplest way possible.
I mean, I get the humor, but don't you think choosing toast almost undermines the gravity of his pizza craving? It seems a bit too offbeat for some tastes.
I see your point, but I think that's the charm here. It's intentionally absurd. The simplicity is what amplifies the disappointment. And after all, the story's goal isn't to offer a realistic solution, but to tickle your funny bone while teaching a neat grammar point. It's a creative exaggeration.
True. That mix of humor and language instruction is pretty clever.
Then we arrive at scene 5, the ending, where we're left with poor Sam, who wanted the pizza but ended up with toast. And that dramatic, sad violin in the background really underscores his defeat.
Yeah, that's quite a visual.
One that really emphasizes the lesson.
And speaking of lessons, there's this cool grammar moment where the host explains the phrase, I can't afford it. Could you run through that a bit?
Sure thing. The host makes it clear that I can't afford it is just a concise way of saying, I don't have enough money to buy this. It's explained both with nouns, as in, I can't afford pizza, or with verbs like, I can't afford to buy pizza.
Yeah.
It's a neat little breakdown that even language learners can easily remember.
I really appreciate that approach. It transforms a simple story into an engaging mini lesson. And did you notice how the host invites us to, try constructing our own sentences with that phrase in the comments?
Absolutely, it adds a layer of interactivity. It's not just a one-way narrative, it's a call to action that encourages you to actually use the phrase in your own life. That kind of engagement really helps with retention.
Speaking of engagement, the use of visuals in this mini story is pretty effective. From the drooling Sam to the dramatic zoom on the $5, everything works together to amplify both the humor and the lesson.
Right, the visuals play a huge role. They're like a silent visual commentary on the narrative, really emphasizing the highs and lows of Sam's journey. It's almost cinematic in its simplicity.
And you know what? I find that blending humor with language instruction is a really successful formula. Though sometimes I wonder, does the absurdity, like making toast instead of pizza, risk trivializing the lesson?
I appreciate that challenge. It might seem a bit oversimplified, But I think the intention here is clear. It's about capturing attention and making the lesson memorable rather than dissecting financial literacy. The absurdity is there to cement the language point, not to serve as a broader life lesson. It's all about striking that balance.
Fair enough. Sometimes a bit of absurdity is exactly what breaks the monotony of traditional lessons.
Exactly. And aside from the narrative, the wrap-up is pretty fun too. It reminds you to subscribe, hit that like button, and even throws in a little bit of self-deprecating humor about English being as tasty as pizza. That
Yeah.
playful invitation is a nice touch.
I find it amusing how the conclusion loops back to the theme. A sort of circular narrative where the hunger for knowledge is compared to a hunger for food. It's creative and unexpected.
Absolutely. It's like the entire episode is a recipe. Each segment, from cravings to wallet check to the triste ending with toast, is an ingredient mixed into a delicious lesson on English idioms and everyday expressions. And that ensures the information sticks.
But you know, I keep thinking, Sam's journey, while humorous, almost feels like it could be expanded into a larger metaphor about balancing desires and reality. Although I guess that's beyond the immediate language lesson.
That's a really interesting take. It definitely adds a layer of depth if you think about it. The difference between what we want and what we can actually afford, not just in monetary terms, but in life choices too. It's like a metaphor for compromise, albeit a light one.
Yeah, right.
Though in this case, the focus stays on language learning.
True. And while we're on the subject, the grammar breakdown is seamlessly integrated, making a potentially dull topic a lot more relatable. That explanatory snippet, along with the call to action to use the phrase in your own sentence, really just reinforces the language learning message.
Exactly. And it's not just about memorizing phrases, it's about understanding context. The host uses context, visuals, and even background music like the sad violin to play up the emotions behind the words. It turns language into an experience instead of just an academic fact.
Precisely. And when you think about it, using humor to address learning challenges, like having a mini story about a pizza craving, helps lower the stakes. It's less intimidating than a dry lecture, and more, inviting to engage with the material.
Yeah, and I love how the script encourages viewers to interact by commenting and sharing their own sentences. That interactivity is key, kind of like a two-way conversation rather than just a one-way lesson. It's dynamic.
Right. As we wrap things up, it's clear the narrative of the pizza problem does more than just entertain. It also educates. From the way Sam's emotions are portrayed to the clever insertion of a grammar moment, everything ties together.
Exactly. It's a holistic approach. Storytelling, humor, and direct language instruction all blended to create an engaging learning module. It makes you remember, I can't afford it, in a context that's fun and, well, a bit unforgettable. Definitely memorable.
And who could forget that final push, asking viewers to subscribe, hit the like button, and get ready for more fun grammar stories. It's like a cherry on top of a, very tasty language cake.
Haha, absolutely. It's this kind of creativity that makes learning English less of a chore and more of an adventure. One where you might even crave a slice of pizza or a toast by the end. It really flips the script
Yeah,
on
indeed.
traditional lessons.
I totally agree. And honestly, mixing up the narrative with real-life expressions makes it not just comprehensible, but also, relatable to everyday experiences.
Right. And that's the beauty of it. Using everyday language and visual storytelling, it builds a scenario that's both amusing and educational. Sometimes it's the simplest stories that leave the deepest impressions. A
Exactly.
lesson served with humor and heart.
This has been a great exploration of the pizza problem narrative. It goes beyond mere storytelling and serves up a creative method for language learning. Thanks for the deep dive.
Anytime. And remember, even if you can't afford the pizza, you're always welcome to make a slice of knowledge instead. Keep learning, keep laughing, and as always, stay curious about language. That's the spirit.
Right on. Thanks everyone for joining us today. We hope you enjoyed our discussion as much as we did. Until next time, keep that hunger for learning alive, and maybe treat yourself to a little toast if the pizza is out of reach.
Catch you all next time, and remember, language is as tasty as pizza, so don't stop savoring every slice of knowledge.
Bye for now.